Tonight, as President Trump fights election results, Joe Biden begins to announce his cabinet picks. The latest on the election and the transfer of power. Plus,
America, nobody can serve God and the military. America, choose ye this day whom you will serve.
The sermon that has a Georgia Senate candidate in hot water. And
you're in a crowded airport, you're lining up, not everybody's wearing masks. That puts yourself at risk.
The push to prevent holiday travel during the pandemic. All this and more tonight on Faith Nation. The Biden administration begins to take shape. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm Jenna Browder. Joe Biden is starting to announce key members of his cabinet as states begin certifying their election results. This as President Trump continues to contest the election, refusing to concede. CBN White House correspondent Ben Kennedy has tonight's top story. Ben, what names do we know so far?
Well, Jenna, the latest pick is Janet Yellen for Treasury Secretary. As you were mentioning, his administration is really starting to take shape with 58 days until he takes office, if elected. Well, today, the Biden team announced their intention to nominate and appoint people for a key number of positions, including longtime aide Anthony Blinken as Secretary of State. He has worked in foreign policy during the Clinton State Department and was Deputy Secretary of State under President Obama. He'll also nominate Alejandro Mayorkas as Secretary of Homeland Security and Avril Haines as Director of National Intelligence. Biden wants Linda Thomas Greenfield as U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations. She is a retired Foreign Service officer with decades of diplomatic experience. And Jake Sullivan as his National Security Advisor. He's named John Kerry as Special Presidential Envoy for Climate. Now, even as Biden moves forward with these appointments and nominees, President Trump has not conceded the election. In fact, he had a bit of a setback in Pennsylvania when a judge dismissed his case of voter fraud. A former Trump advisor recently spoke over the weekend to say that the White House should drop the cases.
And what's happened here is, quite frankly, the conduct of the president's legal team has been a national embarrassment.
Now, today, all eyes were on Michigan as they decide whether to certify or delay the process for an audit. We'll, of course, keep you posted as the story develops. Jenna?
Thank you for your reporting. Well, to Georgia, Biden planning to campaign for 2 Democrat Senate candidates there. His chief of staff saying staffers from the presidential campaign are already on the ground helping candidates Jon Ossoff and Raphael Warnock. The Trump administration has also been on the ground making the case for the 2 Republican candidates, David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler.
And because the Republican Senate majority could be the last line of defense for all that we've done to defend this nation, revive our economy, and preserve the God-given liberties that we hold dear.
And Senator Loeffler is off the trail for now. She is self-quarantining after getting conflicting reports on COVID-19 tests. And tonight, one of those Georgia Senate races is heating up even more. That is after a nearly decade-old sermon surfaced with one of the candidates saying America needs to choose between serving God and serving the military. Here's Eric Phillips.
The runoff election between Democrat Reverend Raphael Warnock and Republican Senator Kelly Loeffler will factor greatly in determining the balance of power in the Senate. It's why everything is on the line right now, including a sermon Reverend Warnock preached 9 years ago. This is the part of the 2011 sermon creating ire on the right.
America, nobody can serve God and the military. You can't serve God and money. You cannot serve God and mammon at the same time. America, choose ye this day whom you will serve.
The words prompting harsh rebuke from Warnock's Republican opponent, Kelly Loeffler, who tweeted, "Reverend Warnock, you owe every active duty military service member and veteran an apology. Shameful." RNC spokesperson Liz Harrington called the sermon insulting.
In fact, this nation was founded on brave men and women willing to enter into the fray and fight for our freedoms and sacrifice so much.
I think it's unfortunate and shameful
that they are trying to distort not only my message, but the message of Scripture.
Warnock defended his words during this virtual press conference.
What I was expressing was the fact that as a person of faith, my ultimate allegiance is to God. And therefore, whatever else that I may commit myself to, it has to be built on a spiritual foundation. It is a spiritual lesson that is basic and foundational for people of faith.
More criticism came the same week after this tweet from Reverend Warnock, which said, "I will always fight for reproductive justice." Former NFL player and devout pro-life Christian Benjamin Watson clapped back. "Pastor, equal access to kill a son or daughter is not justice."
I think these statements are a pattern by Mr. Warnock that shows very outside of the mainstream views that he holds, that I think are too extreme and too radical for Georgia, but too radical for the majority of Americans as well.
Warnock explained during the press conference that he has many veterans in his congregation who heard that sermon back in 2011, and they weren't confused about the message. He also said previously that the right to choose, or reproductive justice as he calls it, is a part of health care, which he says is a human right. He says government should not interfere with that decision-making process, and he says that is consistent with his view as a Christian minister. Eric Phillips, CBN News.
Thank you, Eric. Joining me now, CBN News Chief Political Analyst David Brody. David, what do you make of these latest developments in Georgia? Can Warnock survive this controversy about God and the military?
Yeah, I mean, I think he can, and I know there's calls for him to drop out of the race, insert the laugh track. That's not going to happen. We know this, Jenna. Look, he calls himself, these are his words, not mine or anybody else, he calls himself an activist preacher. That's what he calls himself. And so, you know what? What comes with an activist preacher is some comments that ruffle some feathers. And this is definitely one of them with the God in the military. And I know a lot of people are trying to kind of compare him to Jeremiah Wright and the whole situation back with Barack Obama. That may be a bridge too far. But the bottom line is that what's interesting to me here, Jenna, is that a lot of this was already out there. I mean, this idea that, you know, they continue, the Loeffler campaign continues to, you know, go through his sermons. You know, surprised this didn't come out even earlier. But it's been something the Loeffler campaign has been trying to do for a few months now.
Yeah, David, what is your sense on the two Senate races down in Georgia? You know, the balance of power in Washington is on the line here. Do you think Republicans can hold these two Senate seats, or will they flip blue?
My sense is it's probably going to be a split. I mean, I think it's going to be, you know, probably one and one, obviously. I feel like Purdue has probably got the better shot. There are a lot of conservatives that are actually frustrated with Loeffler, especially as it relates to some of the election fraud that the Trump campaign has been talking about. And she hasn't been as forthright on that as they would like her to be. And so it wouldn't surprise me to see Purdue win and Loeffler lose, but we'll see. I've always kind of predicted it would be 51-49 in the Senate for Republicans. And if that's the case, if it splits, it would be 51-49 Republicans.
Yeah, we will see. David, shifting gears here a little bit, let's talk about Joe Biden's cabinet picks. So far, we have Tony Blinken, Secretary of State, Alejandro Mayorkas, DHS, John Kerry in a top climate position. What did these picks overall so far indicate about what a Biden presidency might look like?
3 words, safe, establishment, process. That's what the Biden campaign has done from the very beginning. That's what this administration, providing, once again, I always have to do the disclaimer, providing Joe Biden becomes president of the United States, that's exactly what this administration is going to do. It's going to be the anti-Trump administration, so to speak. Literally, they're going to do process, and they're going to make sure that folks that Biden trusts and are not far left. Well, John Kerry is kind of far left, but a lot of them are going to be more down that center left lane, and I think that's what you're going to see.
All right. Yeah, a lot of attention being put on Treasury and labor. So we'll have to wait and see who he announces for those cabinets and all of the cabinets that still have to come. All right. David Brody, our chief political analyst. Thank you very much. Have a great evening.
You too. Thanks, Jenna.
Well, a surge in COVID cases causing new closures. Coming up, what it could mean for churches and how they're responding.
Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep as the world watches from the outside.
It's a big diplomatic tug-of-war here in the Middle East.
Go inside the story with Jerusalem Dateline.
Israeli archaeologists are talking about a discovery that could change the thinking about the Temple Mount.
Join CBN Jerusalem Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell and get the biblical perspective on the events shaping the world.
What starts in Israel then ends up going to other places.
Watch Jerusalem Dateline Friday night at 9:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
Well, with Thanksgiving almost here, coronavirus cases are on the rise nationwide. The COVID Tracking Project reporting nearly 84,000 people in the hospital fighting the virus. But there appears to be another breakthrough on the vaccine front. Senior Washington correspondent Tara Mergener is here with more on that. Tara?
Jenna, scientists have been working tirelessly for breakthroughs to fight the virus. And now, ahead of the holiday, AstraZeneca is the third drug company to say it has come up with a highly effective vaccine.
Despite repeated warnings from the nation's top docs,
You're in a crowded airport. Not everybody's wearing masks. That puts yourself at risk.
people are still taking to the skies and highways traveling for the holiday.
I'm asking Americans, I'm begging you, hold on just a little bit longer. Keep Thanksgiving and the celebration small.
This as scientists work frantically for a breakthrough to reel in the deadly virus.
We definitely do not want to see Thanksgiving family get-togethers be Christmas family funerals.
But now, more good news on the vaccine front.
We've never had more reason for hope thanks to the science.
AstraZeneca is testing 2 dosing regimens, one showing 62% efficacy, the other 90%.
To get 90%, what you have to do is to give a half dose for the first immunization and a full dose for the second immunization.
Pfizer filed its FDA application for emergency use authorization on Friday. Moderna is expected to be right behind them. Operation Warp Speed's chief scientific advisor believes the first vaccinations could come by mid-December.
With the level of efficacy we have, 95%, 70% or so of the population being immunized would allow for true herd immunity to take place. That is likely to happen somewhere in the month of May.
Meanwhile, the FDA is allowing emergency use of Regeneron's antibody treatment, the same one used by the president for people over 12 and those at high risk of COVID complications. Jenna.
All right, Tara Mergener, thank you. Well, as we know, the virus does not discriminate. Celebrities, politicians, even the president have contracted coronavirus. Christian leaders like Tony Perkins and Greg Laurie have also come down with it. So what helped them choose faith over fear in their fight? John Jessup has that story.
So we give you all the praise and we give you all the glory. The Apostle Paul encouraged New Testament believers not to be anxious, but to pray.
I just want to thank everybody for all your prayers, though, because it really has been an incredible period of time.
It's one way Christians have been waging a fight against the coronavirus. For others, the battle is personal.
Well, I did contract coronavirus back in July.
Tony Perkins with the Family Research Council tells CBN News the virus hit his entire family last summer.
My daughter's actually an ER nurse working with at the time working with the coronavirus patients, so we're not sure if maybe that's where it came from or through traveling.
His symptoms lasted about 2 weeks, and a recent test reflected he now has COVID antibodies.
It's actually as a part of John, the defense of this for the broader society as people get this, they become barriers to the spread of it.
Perkins attended September's White House Rose Garden ceremony, now labeled a super spreader event, 2 seats away from former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, who along with the President, First Lady, and several others contracted the virus.
You may have heard that I've tested positive for COVID-19.
Also there, Harvest Christian Fellowship pastor Greg Laurie, who made this impassioned plea in a video he sent to CBN News.
I just wish at a time like this we could not politicize something like this and show compassion to people that are struggling with this. It's real.
Perkins and others now say it's time for the church to go on the offensive.
This is a moment for us where we need to be leading, and quite frankly, I don't think we've done a really good job of it. Again, I understand this is serious. I understand people have died from this, but people have died from other things. We live in a dangerous world. We cannot hide. We have to stand with common sense, taking the necessary precautions.
At a recent rally called Freedom Sunday, Christian leaders urged fellow believers to choose faith over fear and to take a stand and resume in-person worship.
We cherish the church's right in America to gather.
But how many know that we've been essential for 2,000 years? And all the more with the pandemic, we need to be the first responders as believers.
A practice that pits public safety against the First Amendment right to worship, now being challenged in the courts. Still, to the faithful, prayer is an indispensable weapon in the fight against COVID, also affecting San Antonio pastor John Hagee, who didn't attend the Rose Garden event, but was at the White House earlier.
As it is a reality in our lives, we also have a promise that we serve a God who is a healer.
Prayer, an effective tool people of faith see as a line of defense. John Jessup, CBN News.
Threat of a nuclear bomb in the Middle East. Up next, the country that has Israel on high alert.
On October 1st, 1961, history was made when a tiny station began transmitting the first signals of the Christian Broadcasting Network.
CBN, the Christian Broadcasting Network.
And now, a new era has begun with the all-new CBN News Channel.
Just moments ago, the Iron Dome intercepted an incoming rocket right on the Gaza border.
Administering in this area, spiritual warfare is definitely involved.
A 24/7 news network, bringing you the news you want from a source you can trust.
In Kenya, 40% of the medical services are actually provided by these Christian hospitals.
Let's talk about the economy.
Believers here are joining together to win people to Jesus Christ.
All your favorite shows now in one place. Go to cbnnewschannel.com to find out how to get the CBN News Channel on your TV all day, every day. CBN News. Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
Welcome back to the Middle East, where Israeli media is reporting Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, along with the chief of Mossad, flew to Saudi Arabia Sunday to meet with the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. It was the first meeting between the Prime Minister and the Prince. A tracking site showed a flight Sunday evening from Tel Aviv to Saudi Arabia, where the Crown Prince was meeting with U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. Saudi Arabia has denied the secret meeting, but many expect the country to become one of the next nations to normalize relations with Israel as part of the Abraham Accords. Meanwhile, Israel still faces threats in the Middle East, topping the list a nuclear Iran. As Chris Mitchell reports from Jerusalem, the Iranian regime might be further along than thought when it comes to developing a nuclear bomb.
Before the proverbial ink was even dry on the Iranian nuclear deal signed in 2015, Iran has pushed its limits.
Slow but consistent breaching of the limitations that Iran took upon itself when it signed the JCPOA in the summer of 2015. Now, it's doing it step by step.
While misbehavior like that led President Trump to pull out of the international agreement, Iran's tactics seem to be working. The most recent report of the UN's International Atomic Energy Agency discovered Iran now has 12 times the amount of low-enriched uranium allowed by the so-called deal. Retired Israeli General Yaakov Amidror says Iran has a three-pronged approach to a nuclear weapon: developing long-range ballistic missiles, enhancing enrichment capabilities, and enriching large amounts of uranium that could be turned into weapons-grade level.
In the capabilities that they have today with the new centrifuges, they have only to make the decision. They have all the capacity which is needed to enrich uranium to this level.
According to the Institute for Science and International Security, Iran's estimated breakout time as of late September 2020 is as short as 3.5 months. That time frame would be early 2021, but that element is just the first of two steps towards a nuclear weapon.
The other point is how to assemble a nuclear device. It's not the same. How you create the device to start the nuclear reaction.
That makes the major question. How long would it take for Iran to have a nuclear bomb?
I would say that if Iran decides that it puts away all kind of international respected oversight considerations and go fast forward, then Iran can become nuclear, fully nuclear, meaning with the ability to put a bomb on a missile, etc., between 3 and 5 years.
Well, tonight I'm here to tell you one thing. Iran lied.
In April 2018, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu went on prime time to unveil thousands of documents taken straight from Iran's secret atomic archives.
What we found in the archives is a good answer to all those who said, the Iranians are not serious. The archive gave us a clear picture of very serious project, which was very much advanced.
Bergman, the author of Rise and Kill First, a definitive study of Israel's Mossad, says that operation exposed Iran's deception.
I am sure that after that Mossad operation, Ocean 11 Jewish style, after that operation, nobody can go back to the same JCPOA because everybody understands and confirms. Everybody, including in closed sessions, the Chinese and the Russians. Everybody now understand that this was based on a lie.
Bergman notes the Mossad also led a spectacular operation in July that set back Iran's nuclear program for months or more.
Someone was able to smuggle a huge tonnage of explosive into the main facility for the assembly of centrifuges in Natanz and explode that and creating damage of severe magnitude to the Iranian nuclear project, which proves again that special operations and agents, boots on the ground can be sometimes a very good replacement with sending the troops, the airplane, the armadas, and starting a war.
For Israel, the question of a nuclear Iran remains a daily exercise.
Our philosophy is very clear. We are getting every morning, we ask ourselves, will tomorrow be too late? If the answer is no, we are going for another day. And when the minute will come, if the minute will come, and we will have to answer ourselves, yes, tomorrow will be too late, then we will have to ask ourselves, okay, what we are doing.
It's clear after facing the potential of a nuclear Iran, Israel has been preparing to answer that question for a long time. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Christmas and tradition at the White House. Still ahead on CBN's Faith Nation.
Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
I'm Ephraim Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
The fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Watch Studio 5 Wednesday night at 9:30.
Remember for a moment what it was like to be a child. You believed every story you were told. You saw a world full of endless possibilities. What stories will the world's orphaned and at-risk children believe? We believe the Bible tells the only story truly worth believing. We believe that every child should have the opportunity to dream, the chance to take challenges and turn them into possibilities, the chance to stand on the promises of God, to recognize their place in the greatest story ever told. They have their whole lives ahead of them. Theirs is a world of endless possibilities. They are looking for a story to believe. We will tell them that story. Will you join us?
Young people, millennials, are flocking to church.
It's not an exaggeration to say that we love to meet them and that we love to know their stories.
Finally tonight, Christmas is coming to the White House. In a tradition dating back to 1966, today First Lady Melania Trump welcomed the arrival of the official White House Christmas tree. The First Lady tweeting the 18.5-foot Fraser fir comes from Dan and Brian Trees, a Christmas tree farm in West Virginia. The tree will be the centerpiece of the White House Blue Room. And this isn't the first time Dan and Brian Trees has had the honor of blessing the White House with one of their trees. They also provided the official tree back in 2009 when President Obama was in office. Sights and sounds of the season. Have a great evening, everybody.